So you're thinking of moving to Seattle, Washington. Well, in this video, we're exploring the Seattle dichotomy. We're talking about both the good and the bad, the ups and the downs of living in the great Pacific Northwest. So stay tuned to the end because we are going to be uncovering some raw footage about living here in Washington. Welcome to Seattle Living 101, your ultimate guide to Washington real estate. Now, if you're new here and you're looking for a comprehensive guide to all things that have to do with Seattle living, then you're in the right place. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll get essential tips for moving to Seattle and stay updated on the Washington state lifestyle. My name is Andre. The team and I, we get calls, texts, emails all the time from people just like you looking to move into the area. So whether you're moving in 7 days or 7 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, book a one-on-one Zoom call with us, and we'd be happy to help you make that smooth move over to Seattle, Washington. Now, at the top of our good list, what comes to mind first is the natural beauty around Washington state. Washington is known for evergreen trees, mountain ranges, the great Puget Sound, and so much more. To start, Mount Rainier is an icon over here, and when it comes to Mount Rainier, even if you got kids with you and you don't want to explore too many of the trails, they have many paved pathways where you can take strollers. People in wheelchairs go there as well, right? It's ADA accessible, and you can see Mount Rainier in all its glory without spending too many calories, I should say. Unless you're hauling up 2 kids on your shoulders like I did before, and in that case, you are spending calories. Anyways, that's beyond the point. You can see a ton of wildlife there. We personally prefer the Paradise Trail. That's the simplest one to take your kids on. You see some waterfalls. We actually climbed over to one to take a drink of water as well before. When it comes to the Puget Sound, we have so many beaches. Yes, we do have beaches in Washington state. Now, with the Pacific Ocean being here, they are very, very cold. Typically, if you're looking to swim in the summer or have some fun, we usually go to lakes or water parks. But there are people that go out and brave the cold Pacific Ocean by paddle boarding, surfing. Yes, we do have some surfing as well, and the works. And if that's you and you're looking to do some surfing and paddle boarding, do not forget your wetsuit, because if you do fall into the water, trust me, it's gonna be cold. I personally prefer to stick to the lakes in the summertime when it's warmer. And when it comes to lakes, we have a ton of lakes. The biggest one here in Washington is,
guess what?
Lake Washington. So it's the absolute biggest lake over here with an island in the center. It's called Mercer Island. A lot of people live there. It's a very luxurious area. But yeah, Lake Washington is the biggest one. There's many parks around Lake Washington, and there's many lakes out east. Typically, when it comes to summer camping or glamping, I should say, motorhomes, everybody heads out east towards the Spokane area, towards the desert, towards Lake Chelan. Lake Chelan is a very popular lake here as well. Typically, everybody heads over there because the waters are a lot warmer on that side of the state. Now, when it comes to the job market, which is the second good thing about Washington, the job market here is very strong. And with a good job market comes good income, and with good income comes high real estate prices. Yes, people, the real estate prices here are significantly higher than the national average of, I believe, 400,000. But when it comes to the jobs, you have tech giants here like Amazon, you have Google, you have Expedia, you have Boeing. We have multiple Boeing plants around Washington state. And with all of these jobs and people moving here, roads do get congested, which we'll talk about in our bad list. But my point is the job market here is very, very strong. There's no shortage of jobs if you actually want to work. Now, I'm briefly going to touch up on the schools as well. At the top of our list, number 3, we have amazing schools. And the schools over here far exceed national averages in many cases when it comes to education, diversity, and mathematics, and many other categories. So for example, we have, of course, University of Washington, which is a renowned university here in Washington state. It's absolutely beautiful. They have over there what's called the Quad, and it's essentially a massive open area with cherry blossoms, and people head over there. Even if you're not part of the university, we've been over there many, many times to take photos, set up a picnic, just go out for a walk. It's absolutely gorgeous in the summertime, and a lot of people head over there just to check out what we call the quad. Now, let's say you don't have a university student. If you have elementary school, one of the most renowned schools around Seattle here is Coe Elementary. It has a 10 out of 10 on the greatschools.org list, and it's over in the neighborhood of Queen Anne. Now, after Coe Elementary, we have Salmon Bay Middle School, which is a 9 out of 10 on greatschools.org. And then we have Ballard High School as well, which also scores a 9 out of 10 on the greatschools.org list. There are many, many schools around here. I just mentioned 3. We have hundreds of schools over here, and if you really want to be in an amazing school district, you want to be in either certain parts of Seattle, because not all schools are really good there. Most of our schools that are rated highly are grouped together in what we call the east side, in places like Bellevue, Kirkland, Mercer Island. Redmond is a very big one as well. Newcastle, Issaquah area. So usually all of them are all on the east side. We also do not have a shortage of private schools. For example, my children go to a private Christian school in South King County, and I prefer that over public schools because of the student to teacher ratio. For example, in both my daughter's class, I believe they have about 12 students for one teacher, and in my son's class, they have 6 students for one teacher. So there's a lot of one-on-one personal attention. Whether you're religious or not, I think that is very important for raising children, having a teacher who's going to give their utmost care and attention to your son or daughter. Now, another plus of living over here in the greater Seattle area is the fact that we have great public transportation systems and light rail systems. We are very well connected all throughout Western Washington. Seattle's public transit system, operated by King County Metro and Sound Transit, covers most of Seattle and the surrounding areas. And why that's important, whether you like public transportation or not, the reason why that's important is because many areas in Seattle, people live in condos or apartments. A lot of people over here actually do not have cars. One thing that's become really popular is just having electric bicycles, and some of them go like 30-40 miles an hour. Like, I have a buddy of mine who lives way down south in Renton. He works in Capitol Hill. He's a shoe cobbler, shoe repair guy, and he bikes to work sometimes. It takes about an hour, but it works out for him, and he did get hit by cars multiple times. Our drivers are not the best, especially in the rain, which you would think would not happen because it does rain here quite a bit, but no, still, when it rains, people freak out, people don't know how to drive. It's like everybody forgets about the basics of driving, and a lot of bicyclists do get hit. So if you are biking to work or somewhere around, just be careful, look out, because there's a lot of people who don't turn on blinkers, don't look in mirrors, etc. Now, if you're not looking to bike or ride a car or a motorcycle or whatever it is, you want to be living in places like Capitol Hill, Ballard, Belltown, because these are the areas where you can not leave anywhere. You're close to some parks if you want to take a breath of fresh air. You're close to restaurants, you're close to nightlife, you're close to all the amenities that you could need for life. So Seattle is very walkable if you live within the city. Just depends which neighborhoods. If you're in areas more like Magnolia, you definitely need a car over there. But the areas that I mentioned, Capitol Hill, Ballard, Belltown, you could live there, work there, walk around, eat, do whatever it is you need to do without having a car or any form of transportation but your 2 legs. And for the last method of transportation, a lot of people, of course, use Uber over here, or there's what's called Zipcar or Car2Go, where you can rent cars, drive them to a location, park them over there, and go do whatever it is you need to do. You have that option as well. I personally never used that before. I mean, I used Uber before and Lyft, but I see those little cars all around the city where it's a Zipcar, and you come up, you can get in, drive it to a different location, and leave it over there. Now, for our last segment on the good list today, we have, of course, the lifestyle and amenities of living within the city of Seattle. Not only do you have the infamous Pike Place Market where you can pick up some fresh groceries, not only can you pick up flowers for your partner, but you also have, of course, we're known for coffee over here in Seattle. You have our first Starbucks location over here in Seattle. You have Piroshki, which is a really nice Ukrainian, Russian meat and dough, and it tastes really good. You should try it over here. It's a very popular place. Right across from there, you have a salmon jerky place as well. That can run you a pretty penny for about 20 bucks for a bag. I love it. I think it's one of the best salmon jerky I've ever tried. And just down the street from there, you have Seattle Cutlery. I picked up some good knives for my wife last Christmas, and they actually sharpen them for you for free. Anyways, so you have the Pike Place Market, you have the infamous gum wall as well. Yes, people do come up and chew gum off of the wall sometimes. It's super disgusting and weird, but there's plenty of pictures around the internet where you can see people do that. I personally think it's nice to just run through and you see a bunch of colors on the walls, but don't stop. A lot of germs over there. If you're germophobic, you won't survive. You also have ferry access over there, and for my recent clients who came from YouTube, Charlene and Carl, shout out to you guys. We hopped on the ferry over there in downtown Seattle. We went across to Bainbridge Island. We had a wonderful time, and people do that just for fun. You can go to Bainbridge Island, stop by their little cafe over there and head back. I believe it's like 20-30 bucks for a round trip. So people do that all the time. I really recommend that you hop on the ferry when you are here. We are getting some new electric ferries as well, because they're phasing things out for the environment. So we'll see how those operate. But some of the recent ones, they've been actually breaking. Yes, and a few of them broke in the middle of the the sound. So it's never happened to me. I would still recommend that you go. There's lifeboats and life jackets, don't worry. But yeah, it's definitely fun having the wind hit your face. You throw up that Titanic thing, hold me, Jack. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. Now, let's talk about the bad. Dun 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 dun. Anyways, the cost of living here is significantly higher than anywhere else in the country. Our index score here is 167.8, which it's, I guess you could say, almost twice as expensive of living here as some other areas. Now, when it comes to index scores like that, keep in mind that's taking into consideration all of America, right? You have the Midwest where things are dirt cheap over there. So it's not that expensive. I don't know. I don't even feel it anymore. I just expect that when I go to buy groceries at Costco, I'm going to spend $752. Not really, but sometimes that does happen. I don't know why. I think it's just because we go in there hungry and buy everything that our eyes see. I'll tell you this, a little grocery hack. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is by far, I think, if you're not looking for bulk items, but just to make a quick run to the grocery store and back, Trader Joe's is where you need to be, people. Hands down. We walk out of there with 3-4 bags of groceries and we spend like 90 bucks, which I think is very, very cheap compared to other places. Now, as far as housing goes, of course, housing is significantly more expensive here than the average of $400,000 in the rest of the country. Our average house, like in King County, for example, is just about $990,000, I believe. But King County is also very broad and it takes into consideration many luxury areas where you can find house prices for millions of dollars. There are affordable housing situations here in Washington State if you are looking to move here. Now, for our second bad thing about living here is traffic. Now, you hear people talk about this before, but I got some stats for you. The average person here in Washington spends 55 hours a year sitting in traffic. Road work is common here. It's very often. Just ask the people in Tacoma who had the same road work going on for over 20 years. I believe it finished up recently and then it restarted again. If you're in the area where I'm in the Kent, Covington, Renton area, here you have I-5, 405, and they're very clogged at times, just like any other big city during rush hour traffic. But there's also a lot of road work happening now. For example, 405 is going to be closed this whole weekend southbound because they're taking down a bridge. But that's also good because they're expanding the roads and the infrastructure as more people are moving to the area. So I think personally it's a good thing. And there are workarounds. You can head over to Seattle just by using streets if you really wanted to. Of course, it would take you a little bit longer, but nonetheless, there's ways to get around. And for our next part, of course, we have the weather. Now, I don't know about you. I personally don't mind having clouds and some rain and a little bit of gloominess. I think it's totally fine. I enjoy it. I enjoy rain. The Bible says rain is a blessing, so we are very blessed over here in Washington, believe me. Now, for some people, that gets in their heads. And I get it. Sometimes people can be emotionally affected by gloomy weather, and I understand that. But we do have our fair share of sunshine as well during the spring and summer months as well. So even now, for example, during winter times, there's plenty of times where there's not a cloud in the sky. It's not gloomy, it's sunny, but it's just freezing. So it just kind of depends what floats your boat, but I think Seattle has it has a wonderful 4 seasons. And when it comes to snow, it does snow here, and sometimes we can get a good bit of snow. Over the last few years, I feel like we would get 4 or 5 inches. A few weeks passes, we get another 4 or 5 inches of snow. There's also freezing rain over here. And if you think Seattleites freak out over a little bit of rain and snow, try freezing rain. You'll see accidents all across the shoulder when it snows. People just don't know either how to drive or maybe don't have the right cars. All I can say is don't get rear wheel drive, people. Just take a Subaru or something like that. All wheel drive, like our Volvo. We have an all wheel drive Volvo. If you have that, you should be able to get around everywhere. Take your kids up to Snoqualmie Pass for some sledding, whatever the case may be.
This message is sponsored by Subaru. No, it's not, but Subaru, you should sponsor me.
I don't even have a Subaru. I have a Toyota Tacoma and a Volvo, but my tenants, they all have Subarus. Subarus are very popular here in Washington. And now for the worst of the worst part, right? The bottom of the list when it comes to the bad list. Homelessness, drugs, and crime. Like I said, I ain't gonna cover up anything with you people. My point is, just like any other big city, we have homelessness, we have crime, property crime really typically. Now you do have some shootings here and there that you hear of sporadically, but I challenge you to find me any big city where you don't have that. In Seattle, you do have quite a bit of homelessness, but the city has started to, what I believe, has started to work on it. They've been moving certain encampments over to a different part of town. Things have been clearing up. I was talking to my buddy Kevin recently in Ballard, and he's noticed it changed over there where there was more homelessness before. Now it's been clearing up a little bit. And I'm not sure what the city's doing, but I think they're finally starting to kind of get a move on things. Now with homelessness, of course, comes drugs, or with drugs comes homelessness, vice versa. I'm not a homeless or a drugs expert, but those two things I do see correlate quite often, because even when our church, when we head out and we feed the homeless and, you know, help them out, we do see drug use right there in the open. And there were some policies recently within the city over the last few years where they had something going like clean needles to drug addicts. I personally have really no opinion on that because I'm not sure how all of that works. But my point is, if you're moving to Seattle specifically, you're gonna see drugs and homelessness. You'll see that. Not in all parts of Seattle, no. Places like Queen Anne, places like Magnolia, I feel like Magnolia is really the safest spot. There you have tree-lined streets, luxurious homes, gorgeous views. I've never seen it in more, it's almost like a rural area within Seattle. But as you get closer to downtown, you're gonna see a lot of what I explained going on, unfortunately. So hopefully that will change over the coming years. But I'll tell you this, you can live in the suburbs like I do, enjoy the beauty of the Pacific Northwest, and if you want to head into downtown Seattle for a little tourist visit and check out Pike's Place Market, you can do that and then head back over to your nice safe home and your 2 cows, a goat, and anyways, that's where I live. At least we have a ton of farm animals. My point is, whatever it is you want, you can have it over here in Washington. If you want to live within the city, you can do that. If you want to live in the rural areas and be 30 minutes drive away from the city and still enjoy the city, you can do that as well. And for the people that will tell me, yes, Andre, there is homelessness in the suburbs. Guys, I've lived in Renton for 8 years. I know the 2 homeless people there. One is named John, one is named Mary. Okay, kid you not. I know them, I've seen them for years. They're like local guides almost, not guides, but you see them all the time. My point is, in the suburbs, you might see a little bit of that, but definitely not as much as you see within the city. So with that, you have it, people, the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of living in Seattle and beyond. If you're looking to make a smooth move over to Seattle, or maybe after this video, you're thinking, no, suburbs only. I'm your guy. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or book a Zoom call with me, and I'd be happy to help you make that smooth transition over to Seattle, Washington.